On behalf of the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber, the nearly 3,000 businesses we represent, and the more than 56,000 employees that work for them. And let me say at the outset, just want to express our appreciation to staff and the commission for the work that you do. We don't get to take that opportunity very often, but we appreciate the important work you're doing. Not only impacts the quality of life, but also the quality of commerce, not only here in the city of Myrtle Beach, but we think the impact reaches well beyond the city. So thank you for what you're doing. I think I'm the third of three, I believe, that have addressed this issue of the crime situation we faced recently and what that means. So I wasn't here for the previous two presentations, and so I can't necessarily build from that, but let me take this from perspective of the chamber and our members, and really would like to approach this briefly in two ways, if you will permit me. One is, what's happened? What is the impact we've seen? And particularly for this summer as we look to the rest of 2017. And then secondly, what do we do going forward? And so we were very encouraged as we came into this year. We really felt that the Myrtle Beach area was positioned for a record year. And if you look at the first 6 months of results, our economy was hot. We had good results in tourism, good results in retail, and actually some job growth in other sectors as well. And then, of course, the unfortunate events that happened in mid-June, which attracted a whole lot of publicity, and I don't need to recap that for you. If you try to put a dollar value on it, it would certainly be in the millions and millions of dollars. But even a situation like that, I just don't think you can address it with dollars and publicity. It was staggering, I think, for a lot of us, and certainly unfortunate, not only the tragic events, but the publicity that surrounded that perhaps may have given some people false impression of what the Myrtle Beach area is. Let me fast forward to what we think has happened this year. First of all, we do know it impacted us, and there's no disputing that. You can talk to hoteliers who received some cancellations. You can monitor the booking pace in the middle of the summer. Clearly there was a slowdown, and being that people weren't necessarily, some were canceling, most were not, but the people who were still planning on when to come had slowed up their pace of booking, and we saw that happen. Now, let me also say, amidst what may sound like a doom and gloom report, there's also a lot of misinformation with that. Any notion that the city of Myrtle Beach's tourism economy is going to be off by 20 or 30% this summer is not accurate, it's not factual, and it's not grounded in real results. So I will just tell you that. We haven't seen the final results for the summer. We probably won't for another 6 to 8 weeks, but no verifiable data that I've seen suggests that we're going to see declines of 20 or 30%. We do think that June showed some growth, that July showed some softening, and that August, near the end of the month, kind of came back to what we hope will end up being on par with last year. So remains to be seen, and certainly there are some businesses that have seen steep declines, and that's one of the things I think it's always important for us to remember. I often talk about the area, but there are individual businesses that have seen serious declines, and so one business might be up, one business might be down, but overall you have to take the results together. Now, having said that, the bad news, I think, for us is that this kind of publicity can impact the community and the destination's reputation. I don't need to tell you that, you know that. And our initial research shows that it's probably more of a regional impact than it is national. In other words, it's going to more likely impact the person in Charlotte than it will the person in Cleveland. A whole lot of reasons for that, one of which, the closer you are, the greater proximity you have to the news in this market. Secondly, the farther out you get, the less association there is with the brand. And so we think that if there is any extended impact, it's probably more with the visitors within our backyard, the Carolinas and slightly beyond, than it will be to some of those other markets. We also have found some good news, bad news, depending on how you look at it. I guess you could call it the glass half full, half empty. For those visitors that have been here before, overwhelmingly, their impression of the destination has not been swayed by this most recent publicity. And I think that just is a testament not to the chamber, but as much to the community and the businesses and the hospitality workers. If you visited here in the past, your estimation of the destination and your evaluation of it is put in context of your visit. And so it's much more easy to see an incident like what happened in June as an isolated incident if your family has had a good experience. You're more dependent upon your past experience and your opinions than you are social media. However, our goal is not simply to bring more repeat visitors here. The primary focus for the chamber is to bring more new visitors. And that's more important today than it's ever been. When you look at our visitor base, 30 to 40% of our visitors are not repeat visitors. And our goal is not only to continue to see those kinds of numbers, but to grow that to 20 million visitors a year, which means we've got to bring even more new visitors to the market. And so if you haven't been here, and your first impression or your last impression of the destination is an unflattering story on social media or in the traditional media, then that could impede your willingness to come here. And that's where I think we potentially have to be concerned. It's not so much with getting the repeat visitor back. That's certainly a targeted goal, but I think they'll come back because of their experience. Our concern is, what does this mean to the person that's never visited here before, and will it prevent them from considering us as their next choice for a family getaway, for a fall vacation, for a wedding, for a honeymoon, for whatnot. So we believe that while the impact has been noted and certainly felt by some businesses more than others, we don't believe it's dire straits, we don't believe it's doom and gloom, but we do believe we've got our work cut out for us to try to counter this and hopefully turn what has been a disappointing incident with a lot of negative publicity into something more positive going into next year. With that said, Madam Chairman, let me offer you 5 quick things that we are doing at the Chamber, and I think this goes to the question asked by staff. What are we doing to address this? First is trying as best we can to correct any misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation that comes out of any incident like this, and some of it I think is just rumor mill, some of it is misunderstandings, and some of it is it's the old game we all played as a child, and you start with the message here and you go around the table and whisper it into everybody's ear, and by the time you get around the table, the message has changed a little bit. So where we see misinformation, where we see incorrect information, we do our best to correct that. Frankly, it's like fighting a forest fire with a garden hose. There's just been a lot of information and publicity surrounding the shootings in June, and so trying to counter that misinformation, or trying to counter misinformation with correct information has been difficult. But the fact is, we can't escape what's happened, and we can't ignore it, and certainly we at the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber can't bury our head in the sand and ignore that. One of the misleading statistics that's out there consistently are these crime rankings. And I think you're probably familiar with them, we see them often. And I'll just reiterate what the FBI says about the information, because I believe the FBI has it right. They clearly say, don't use the information we provide to compare one community to the other. In fact, if you notice the FBI's reports in recent years, they've gotten clearer and clearer with that message, because they see the fallacy in trying to compare crime statistics from 2 communities. So we've learned the hard way that we can, at all the time we want, arguing about the indices and how they should be calculated and why they aren't calculated appropriately. That's not going to change the fact those rankings are out there. So we just simply need to make sure that we put accurate information out, and where we can put it in context, we will do so. But I want to make this really clear, we are not going to let that become the obstacle, or become the goal, and therefore the obstacle to what the community needs to do, and that is to put out the right information, not just positive information, but accurate information. So the first thing is to address the misinformation and try to put the crime statistics in proper context. The second thing we've been doing, and if you pay attention to our social media, you probably noticed this, this summer we have chosen to amplify the visitor's message more and more. We've always done that to a certain degree. This summer we made that a top priority. So where visitors are expressing the experience they had in Myrtle Beach or the surrounding areas, we certainly want to amplify that. Haven't always done that as a top priority, because for the most part we've allowed the visitors to speak for themselves, and we've chosen our information as more promotional. But I think we realized this summer, especially knowing that there's a lot of visitors who are going to rely more on word of mouth and their past experience than on promotion, that we needed to take advantage of the positive messages our visitors are sending. And so we're doing that, and I think that will continue certainly through the fall and into next year. Third thing we've done, and you may or may not be aware of this, but we were a bit frustrated that this situation might reflect poorly on our police department. And I hope that I share with you the view that we have some of the finest law enforcement officers here in the city of Myrtle Beach that any community could hope to have. The men and women who protect this city do a remarkable job. We may not have enough of them, but the ones we have are doing a great job. And that has not been a part of our message in the past. I think from the Chamber's perspective, we really haven't spent a lot of time talking about safety, and certainly public safety. So we are trying to correct that now. We're collaborating with the police department on an independent effort, not funded with public funds, let me say that just so that's clear, but an effort that's targeted at answering this question. It's a question residents ask, and it's a question that visitors ask. What are you doing to make sure the community remains a safe place? And I think that's a legitimate question given the situation that we face. So we have collaborated with the police department. put together a social media campaign, largely on Facebook, which I think right now has roughly 3,600 people engaged in that. And one of the first things we did was to record a video. And the video included Joey Crosby, who I think was at a previous meeting talking about what they've done. We put Joey on camera to talk about what the police department has done this past summer to address the issues and make sure our visitors feel safe. And then we also interviewed some visitors who were in downtown Myrtle Beach to get their perspective. Interestingly enough, that video has attracted 42,000 views so far. So obviously we're promoting it on things other than that Facebook site. And we hope that that will be a good resource going forward, and perhaps we'll expand upon that to help answer that question, what is being done? That's factual information, and it's coming straight from the visitors and from the police department, and we're simply the messenger on that, trying to amplify the message more than anything. Third thing that we've done, and I expect this will continue on into next year, it's up to our marketing council to decide this, I don't make the decision, but a targeted effort to make sure that we're using social media and other promotional means to help promote the downtown. Traditionally, our strategy has been regional promotion, and the result of that is to bring more visitors to the area. But we recognize that downtown Myrtle Beach faces some unique challenges, and I think you recognize that as well. So we've already begun this summer to do some targeted promotion, including social media at various businesses downtown. Within the next 2 weeks, we'll have a syndicated radio program that will actually be sending their talent to downtown Myrtle Beach and broadcasting that back to about 50 markets in the eastern United States, all part of our fall campaign. And I would hope that that will continue into next year. We believe that the downtown businesses certainly face a unique challenge, and they need whatever help that we can provide them to not only maintain the business they have, but hopefully capture back what they've lost and grow from there. And then the last thing, Madam Chair, doesn't necessarily fit within the specifics of your discussion, but I think it's important nonetheless. And if you'll permit me, I want to take every chance I get to say this because I don't think I can say it enough, is that the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber is fully committed, 100% committed to helping pay for more law enforcement in the city of Myrtle Beach. We did this a few years ago, if you recall, after the Memorial Day weekend incident in 2014. We went to the General Assembly, asked them to relax their laws and allow us to redirect advertising dollars to law enforcement. Now, don't get me wrong, advertising is still important. It's arguably more important for our community today than ever before. We think to counter a lot of the bad publicity, the visitors and prospective visitors need to hear a positive message. But we also believe that there's no better investment we can make in our community than to ensure that we have enough law enforcement. And so we intend to work with the General Assembly and Governor McMaster to make that happen.